for the ones that use not having a father around as a negative, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I tell people, well, at least you had the privilege of not knowing the asshole. You know what I'm saying? What if you had a father that was always around and this didn't give a fuck about you?
Hey, this is life, man.
I really don't care. It's not like he crosses my mind, and the only time he crosses my mind is when I feel like I'm taking on his negative qualities. But for the most part, man, like I do feel like he impacted me. I do feel like he's a factor in my behavior now and the way that I deal with just overall society and my overall world. I think he was a factor. I'm not gonna say he was a dominant factor. You know what I'm saying? But he was definitely a factor. He's definitely a factor in my anger. He's one of the reasons why I did some of the things that I did when I was younger to get in trouble. And definitely his lack of love. I ain't getting no love from him. You know what I'm saying? So the violent part, yeah, I definitely feel like, you know, sometimes I could get angry to the point where I get violent. I might spank my kids. You know, I do spank my kids actually. You know what I'm saying? But I don't spank him the way he beat the shit out of us though. You know what I'm saying? But I always be like, God damn, why you acting like your pops and shit. And as far as emotionally, I'm definitely distant because I'm not gonna say because of. I'm gonna say he is a factor in that. I'm not gonna say totally because of, but he's definitely a factor in the way that I handle my emotions and the way that I relate to people emotionally. I'm very distant. Too many people don't have the luxury of getting close to me emotionally, and I tell my mother like that all the time. Like, yo, I feel like I'm like my pops. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm distant like that. They about to be 6 and 7, and they haven't asked me questions about race yet. You know what I'm saying? Which I think is kind of like a good thing. You know what I'm saying? That they haven't noticed it yet at such a young age. They're still a bit naive to it, which is cool to me. You know what I'm saying? And probably the reason that they haven't asked questions about it is because they probably haven't experienced anything yet at such a young. I don't know why they haven't asked me, but once again, through modeling, you know what I'm saying, they see me interacting with all kinds of people, of all races, of all ethnicities. You know what I'm saying? Your daddy ain't no racist, and I ain't gonna raise him to be racist. And at the same time, I ain't gonna raise him to be no punks either. You know what I'm saying? I think for me, the challenges of being a father probably is the relationship with the mother sometimes. Because sometimes I feel as if when we have an argument, me and the mother of my children, we may have an argument, because everything not going to always be peachy, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you know, we have arguments still, even though we're not together, we still have arguments about other things. And sometimes I can feel myself, you know, like just because I don't want to talk to her, then I won't call the house or something, you know what I'm saying? So I think a challenge of that is just my psychological barriers of separating the kids from the mother. Sometimes also the fact that I'm not around them so much, you know what I'm saying, we don't have that constant interaction. I'm not there, so my kids, you know what I'm saying, like you know, whenever they see me, like they always be asking me to buy them things and stuff, like they almost look at me kind of like a bank account, you know what I'm saying, like you don't see me enough, you know what I'm saying. So sometimes the space of being away from my kids, you know, kind of makes it difficult with my relations with them, because like I don't know, I'm just not there 24/7. So when they see me, it's almost like it's a treat to them as opposed to something that's normal. So the reality of it is, a lot of black men these days, you know what I'm saying, are, you know, men that are kind of like struggling, you know what I'm saying, they are kind of struggling, and they still making ends meet, more like the good times father, you know what I'm saying. We are still angry, we still have obstacles that we face, there are the pressures from society that we go through, you know what I'm saying, but we are there for our kids. The reality of it is, yet although a lot of men don't live with their kids, they still provide. They still there, you know what I'm saying? They still show up and take their kids out and do things with their kids. They still involved with their kids educationally, where the teachers know who the fathers are, you know what I'm saying, and things of that nature. So no, I don't feel like they portray us in a good light, man. You got one end, they say that we're not there at all, and on the other end, you know what I'm saying, that when we are there, we don't provide enough. I think one side of the picture is that they don't show the effort that black men actually do, and what they definitely don't show is how the courts kind of prevent us from being able to do, you know what I'm saying, to some extent, you know. But for the most part, they don't show the ones that are actually trying, that are really trying, irregardless of the obstacles that they're facing. So no, I don't think there's a positive portrayal of black men. And to tell you the truth, I think most black men, this is just my assumption, and don't, you know, this is not fact or anything, but I think that most black men on paper are not in their lives because of the system doesn't want them to be in their lives. So the mother, in order to get what she needs from the system, she got to say that he's not around. But I think usually that they are around to some extent. They do what they can with what they got. But one time my kids even asked me, like, Daddy, are you a gangster? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Daddy, a gangster? Daddy, what you see Daddy doing? You see Daddy going to school. You come to Daddy's house, you see books all over the place. You see his damn laptop. You know what I'm saying? Blase blah. You know what I'm, so, you know, no, Daddy ain't no gangster, but this is what you see. And then they also going to be able to see the kids when they growing up, how some other kids live, and hopefully they'll be able to make the distinction. My responsibility as a parent is to help them make that distinction. I think one of my responsibilities as a father is to provide a model for what my children need to pursue when they get older. Number one, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that I'm going to be the first man in their life, you know what I'm saying? And they're going to use me as a blueprint for all their other interactions with males as they grow up, you know what I'm saying? So I think that one of my responsibilities as a father is try to be a good model to my children and be a model for what they should be accepting and what they shouldn't accept and what they should be looking for, hopefully, in life. Not only to provide financially, which that's a no-brainer. Of course, a male has to provide financially, be the breadwinner. You know what I'm saying? It changed my life. It changed my life. It changed my whole attitude and my whole outlook on life. Before my daughter was born, well, before Candace got pregnant, actually, I had a kind of a lax attitude toward life. You know what I'm saying? I really didn't have any direction. I ain't really had nothing to live for. I kind of acted on impulse a lot. I was a kind of nutcase, kind of, you know what I'm saying? To a certain extent. I was still a young black male in college, you know what I'm saying, coming from a group home and all that. So I was doing something positive. But I was still, you know, kind of like, you know, acting reckless, you know what I'm saying? No direction. But when my daughter came, when Candace got pregnant, and then I realized she wasn't gonna have the abortion, I realized that, you know, that she's gonna have this baby, and I'm gonna have my first child. You know, what it did was it made me step up. Like, so now instead of being lazy and not doing the things I'm supposed to do, such as, you know, being responsible and taking more initiative in life as far as professionally, it made me go out and get a job. It made me go out, you know what I'm saying, and want to provide financially, as well as try to make myself a whole lot better professionally so that I could take care of them in the future. You know what I'm saying? So really everything, and once my daughter came, it was never about me anymore. You see, life was always about me. It was always about Chris, and I ain't really, you know, I ain't had no responsibilities. I was just carefree, you know what I'm saying? I ain't give a fuck about nothing. But now that my daughter here now, my daughter came, and everything changed, you know what I'm saying? Now I gotta start shaping up. I gotta try to be around for my kids, you know what I'm saying? I gotta try to do the right thing, because now my mistakes aren't always they're not only gonna affect me, but they're gonna also affect my child, you know what I'm saying? As well as Candace. And if it affects Candace, it affects the child, you know what I'm saying? So I gotta be more responsible for both the mother of my children and for my children.